Now that we're done with the inspection period, the next step is to order the appraisal. The appraisal is required because if a buyer is getting a loan, that lender needs assurance that if that buyer ever stops making mortgage payments, that they can foreclose on the home, sell it, and get their money back. If a buyer is paying cash, an appraisal is typically not required. In this example, we're assuming the buyer is getting a loan. So once we're done with the inspection period, the buyer's loan officer is going to contact an appraisal company and order an appraisal. That company will then assign an appraiser to our transaction, who will then contact you and make arrangements to come out to the home and look at the inside of the home, the outside. They're going to make notes about the condition of the home, any amenities and upgrades it might have. They're then going to go back to their office, do some research, and they're going to look for comparably sold homes in the same neighborhood, as close to homes as yours as possible. They're then going to compare and contrast those homes to yours, and they're going to make any adjustments in terms of differences in size, in bedrooms and bathrooms, and in amenities such as whether one has a pool or not, or a fireplace, things of that nature. Once they make those adjustments in the values to the comparably sold homes, they are then going to have the revised values for each of those, and then that will help them determine what the appraised value of your home is. Once that report is finished, they're going to send it to the buyer's lender, and then we're going to find out whether or not the home appraised for at least the purchase price. If the home appraises for at least the purchase price or higher, that is exactly what we want to hear, so now we're ready to move forward with the purchase. If the home does not appraise for the purchase price, we got some more work to do. If that happens, the buyer has 5 days before they can cancel the contract and get their earnest deposit back, and we can all go our separate ways. During those 5 days, the buyer agent and myself will typically try to negotiate and try to come up with somewhere in the middle. There's a lot of variables, so it's kind of hard to say definitively what we're gonna do. It depends on the type of market that we're in. It depends on the other types of provisions and things that we agree to in the purchase contract, because we could bring those back into play and negotiate some of those in terms of, like, if you agree to pay for buyer's closing costs and the real estate commission and those things, we could potentially try to renegotiate some of those if you do agree to come down in the purchase price because of the low appraisal. And there, it also depends on the differences between the purchase price and the appraised value. If it's a couple $1,000s, that's not much in that grand scheme of things. If we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, then that's a pretty big difference, and so there's a lot of things to take into consideration. But if we can come to a meeting of the minds and the buyer and seller get on the same page, say we reduce the purchase price halfway, and then the buyer agrees to bring money to the table for the difference, or if you agree to reduce the purchase price all the way down to the appraised value. Either way, if we have a meeting of the minds, we will make those changes on an addendum to the purchase contract. All parties will sign it, and then we'll be ready to move forward with the sale.